chasing full moon. It's kind of still in the sky. I tend to wake up in the morning with epiphanies. I think it happens in a lucid state. And just thinking about dreaming. And so loose is kind of like loose, right? So we can pick up on stuff. And when we see lucid, you got the LU and the CID, which can also be looked at as side. So I'm getting into here some epiphanies I had, and just like how, like the word quit, to quit, you just add that L, and we have quilt. When we think about the sewing of the up and down. So when we're dealing with sewing, H can be quiet. We could also see that as showing. We used to play this game called Show and Tell. So I had some early morning epiphanies dealing with expectations. And to peck. Just like I was talking about abracadabra with abrasions. So when you look at A, it's also a 1. It's the first letter. So we can see like A1 steak sauce. A1 usually means like fine grade. So I was getting into a lot of stuff. Symbols, sigils, signals. And we also see the word sign. So it's kind of like playing around. Sometimes we'll hear people talk and it sounds like they just like to hear themselves talk. Even me sometimes just playing around with synergies and symbiotics, and it's kind of like melodies, right? But how with everything there's always something new. Just how I'm showing quit and quilt. So I was thinking about evening, like evening is to balance. And AM, we wake up in the AM. So it's the morning that we wake up. I just got some new markers. I'm about to go in on this. I'm gonna make this closer. I'm going to do a pause and go presentation where I could just boom connect symbols on a later date. I'm just kind of rocking with this right now. But all right, that's good. I guess I'll sit down. You see in the old like Egyptian symbols with nut and gab, and the hands are kind of by like the red triangle, which is right by the reproductive part, by the lower spinal, whatever. So I'm getting into the color red, and we know that Moses split the Red Sea. So when we look at that, Moses took a trip. He took everybody with him, right? And like in the word trip, we know we're dealing with electricity, like the trip wire or whatever, talking about movement. But we could also see the word like triple, just like trickle. Gonna get into that one. But in trip, if we see that I as a 1, we could also see the word part, like part. So we know that Moses parted the Red Sea. You see that? You can kind of see that, right? So what I'm playing with is like building, like Jenga, taking apart and putting up what's stack. You can do that too, and everything crumbles apart. Right? So everybody kind of goes into their default mode of programming and communication, of comfort zone, right? when you stack things too high, they crumble for a lot of people. So it's like playing around with the vibratory frequencies that we piece things together. And there's that Buddhist game where they do artwork in the sand and then they blow it all away, right? Because it's something to being in the moment. So when we talk about red is past tense and like dealing with programming. And read is like present tense, and read is playing, like playing an instrument. And it's interesting that when you're playing around with left and right, like a balancing scales are in music. So we go from the word play to pray. Which is also a predatory word. Find my eraser. So we look at, our language came from multiple languages, and we could look at just the word, like English has all this abracadabra it's the most recent language. So we got L, and we got angle, and then we got like a wedge. And we know that when we're dealing with uppercase and lowercase, we're dealing with casing, like frequencies and meaning, and even in the word mean, we have the word name. And we could also see that as amen. And they say that the ends justify the means. So when we think about ends, we could also see that as the word tens, like we have 10 fingers, when we're praying, it's together. So when we say the word tense, we're dealing with like a knot. And like the knot, we can kind of see the word ankh, which is from tie, yet, tying what's yet to happen. And komet. So I'm going to get more into that with abracadabra, which playing around with all these where I see things even like Barbie and Ken and abracadabra and things programming as kids. We used to watch Sesame Street with Count Dracula, which basically teaches us how to read and how to count, communicate, how we navigate. So with navigation, there's always a key on a map, and the key is able to unlock things and see things differently. So for a normal person, they might have to like almost spinning the tail, going all around. For someone who's got the key, can open doors. And in the word door, we also have road. So like door also makes me think a lot of stuff. Warlock. So we look at L, angling a wedge. L is like, it's a tool. If you look at the word tool, it's like two, right? So we think of two, there's no movement without two. One is stagnant. So there's a play on this too between 0 and 1. Some people use a 0, some people don't use that. But if you do that, if you do the numerology on 0, adding Z-E-R-O, breaks down to 10, which breaks down to 1. So 1 rows from the 0. And if you look at rows, it's like a row. Row your boat. Or you could say that as a column, which we see spelled with the M and the N. And if you just have that one L, like a tool, we have two M's together. Which, where the hell is that whole thing? 3M. Anyway, there's a company, 3M, but in 3M, we also see the level. So I was looking at the symbol of M and how we know it's the 13th letter. So there's like that play with this symbol and then the 3. It could be, you know, there's this add and subtracting thing going on with symbiotics. Like if we look at the infinity between sounds and symbols and whatever, if we look at the infinity symbol, you know, it's also the number 8 and it's also S. We could do 2 different S's, right? So what I'm getting at is S is the 19th. So that would be like 9 minus 1 is 8. So there's like this left and right thing going on between adding and subtracting. But anyway, this is kind of some notes I'm going to go back on. Some things that just hit me recently playing around. What I like to do, just erase it all and play with what connects here. I found this old book on IQ, right? Going through stuff. I got a lot of these old records playing with symbols. Know your IQ. And I just see the symbol, how that's a Q on there, right? And it's also like an I. And then you got the 17 and the 9, you know, you got IQ. And it's just like, I just think the programming is so deep that a lot of people don't think outside of the box. And the box is like the cube. And I think that's a big part of like the magic of programming. I think about the Rubik's Cube. And we look at the word dream. I look at, so the D, it's deep too. When you look at the split circle, we got the 2 D's. And we know that the 1 is the A. So if we think of the word atom, like ADD, they say ADD, attention deficit disorder. You know, and that's a lot of people who think outside of the box. And you know that like the news programming, they use like the dad figure. It's always like the newscaster, the one who's talking about the wars going on, the person that everybody trusts. You know, families don't listen to their own, everybody will watch the news. You get the dad figure. So just staying on point here. With dream, this is what hit me. So dream, we got red. So we got that word red. And then you got AM, like for the morning, right? So when we look at these triangles, we know in the morning, and I always get epiphanies in the morning. First thing we do is we stretch, we put our arms up, and we touch our toes. A lot of this into my beat presentation, and it just has to do with light. And it has to do with frequencies, vibration, and concepts of time and tying. And I had this epiphany about quit. Quit is like quilt. And then when you put the A before it, which is also the L or the 1. So 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 the L or the 1. I don't know if you can hear that, whoever's listening. Wow. I think I'm back. Okay. I'm having some major connection issues. But I'm going to play with this. Because I can hear right now like my own echo. So I might have to restream this. I'll be right back.